In this second clip looking at the Syncaps data files, we're going to have a peek at a slightly more realistic example. This is quite an extensive file. It has 50 items and about 20 participants. And unlike the first example, this is actually an open sort. And the other thing that makes it somewhat different is that this was actually done as an online sort using the websort.net site. And on that site, you can ask for the data to be exported in Syncaps format so that you can use all the additional analysis features that Syncaps provides. So these items were originally entered into the websort.net site. If you were doing this as a paper-based sort, then again you would go to the templates that we provide for the purpose to extract the item names in a suitable format for this header. One of the main differences between an open and closed sort is that in a fully open sort you have no predetermined group names. The item names are usually still all present, and in Syncaps version 1 all of the item names must appear in the header as we see them here. You can't, for Syncaps version 1, just make up new item names on the fly. If somebody wants to add a new item name, you have to go back and append it to this list and allocate it a number and so forth. In Syncaps version 2, and this is the difference I was talking about in the last clip, you can have what we call ad hoc items. If somebody wants to add a new item, they just write it on a card and you can key it in with an I in front of it and the item name following it, and Syncaps will take account of that in the analysis. It does take quite a few people writing in item names before they actually ever make any significant difference to the analysis, I have to say. But if you're doing exploratory, particularly open card sorting, then gathering these item names together, even though the quantitative data is not that useful, the qualitative data actually getting hold of the terminology is quite handy. So what we're going to see here is that we've got all these item names listed. We do not have any group names. They could appear before or after the item names, by the way. The ordering of these things is not actually important. But there will be no group names listed here. This is a fully open sort. You can in Syncaps support something we call a hybrid sort, which is where you might give people a handful of group names and then say create further groups if you need them, or change these groups however you want to do it. What you'll see instead is that after the first participant, which here is labeled intranet because we've put in the existing intranet structure as the expert data set, and this expert data set can be compared against all of the individual sort results. What we have in this participant and in later participants are the group cards with the group names actually entered immediately after the initial G. So these need to be typed in. You can't use a barcode scanner for this, but of course remembering that this is from websort.net, the participants in the sort typed these in originally, and websort.net just exported them for us when we asked it to. So just to recap on the previous clip, the first P separates the header data. Everything above is just telling Syncaps what all the item numbers mean from the body of the data file. And as I say, we've got about not quite 1,000 cards following, but it's that kind of number, 20 participants by 50 items approximately. So here's a G meaning group. And this one's purchasing, and it's in this group is just item 10. Not necessarily a very helpful thing because of the cluster analysis. An item on its own in a group doesn't actually count for anything, so I would normally discourage participants from producing single item groups, but of course that's one of the downsides of online card sorting, is that you really can't be there to provide any real guidance. Here's another group called HR, and it's a somewhat chunkier group with item 3, item 28, item 29, and so forth. So altogether quite a bit bigger group. And then we go on to group finance. If you were doing this with paper cards, the file would look very similar. You would have had to stop and typed in G Group Finance, and then you could have carried on using the barcode scanner for the individual item cards. One thing to notice about these items, by the way, is that there is no quality of fit data. If you remember from the previous clip, we had something like I-35F3, which means that that was a perfect fit in the group finance group. WebSort.net and most other online packages don't know anything about quality of fit, so they don't provide it, and it's omitted. That's not a problem. We can still do the analysis. The results won't be as finely detailed as they would be with quality of fit present, but it's not a big problem. So we'll go through this file a little bit, and then we'll see that we've got lots of different group names, and of course what happens is that Syncaps will merge any which actually are spelt exactly the same way. In Syncaps version 2 you have the ability to merge groups of similar spelling or similar meaning, so that isn't a serious problem with the latest software. One thing you won't see from a WebSort.net created file is what we call ad hoc items. There is no facility within WebSort to let participants make up new items. That is something that you can easily do with face-to-face card sorting. And of course, there will not be a barcode for that. So what you do is you give people a blank item card or a blank card altogether and just invite them to write an item name on there. And the processing of that's very simple. Let's assume that it was actually as part of this regulation and control group. I would see a new item, and rather than barcode scanning it, I would just type the letter I, and that can be lower or uppercase, by the way, it doesn't matter. And I would type whatever the name of the new item was in there, and that would be all there was to it. If I was using quality of fit, we're not on this particular file, then I would follow that with the letter F, and again that can be upper or lowercase, and the fit value, whatever it might be, 1, 2, or 3. Let's make it a 2 in this case. So that's a very simple data format, but it does have to be keyed in, and that's one of the main differences between an open and closed sort, but they have their different purposes. If you come on one of our courses, we talk all about why you might want to do an open sort versus a closed sort. But in very general terms, open sorts are much more exploratory, much more about finding out how people are thinking about a problem. Closed sorts are much more about seeing if people agree with your ideas. You've got your own categories, and you want to find out whether they're going to put the correct items in the correct places. So that's about it. There's lots more on the website. Do feel free to poke around. Everything can be downloaded for free, and the software can be used for free for 14 days. But after that, you need to purchase a license.